Welcome to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC. It's your opportunity to learn more about your garden and your yard, about dealing with pests, and about taking care of the birds. You can be part of the show with your questions at 395-1450. That's 395-1450. And now, from De Bruyne Seeds on Washington Avenue in Zeeland, here's the master gardener, Jan Meeuwsen.
Good morning, everyone. What a rainy afternoon morning we're having, but you know what? That's life sometimes, and we will get it. We will live through this. It's supposed to be some sunshine tomorrow, so we're looking forward to that. This morning I just looked outside and it was pouring out by my house earlier this morning, and I thought, now why couldn't this have come in, end of July, in August, when my plants really, truly needed some rain on them. I don't know. It comes now. I guess I'm certainly not the weatherman, but yeah, I really could have used this summer. But hey, I had a good harvest of most of my things, so I can't complain. And talking about a good harvest, hope you're putting your garden to bed. I've got mine to bed right now already. I picked all the peppers. I harvested the onions and the garlic and the shallots that I had planted. Took out all the bean plants and harvested all the tomatoes. So that was my garden this year. And I got all of it out and I put in a bunch of pansies. And where they aren't pansies, I've got some grain rye planted, and so that's coming up as a cover crop. So I'm all set already. I am surprised. I'm ahead of myself. Normally, I don't do this until it's really, 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 really cold. I just did it when it was really wet. I guess one or the other. But I've got mine put to bed. That's always a good thing. My pH was above 7 for my garden. So fall is the time to correct that. It's the time you put the soil sulfur down. So if you've had a soil test and your pH is high and it recommends you using sulfur, get it down now. This is the time of year we do it. We don't do it during the spring or summer. We do it in the fall. So remember, soil sulfur in the fall. Let's get that down on the ground. Get it worked in so by next spring, at least it will be down a couple of points and won't be quite so high, and things will grow much better. We have phone lines open, 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450 is the number to call. I always want to give my cell phone number out here. And I'm talking to someone the other day and they needed my number. So I went 616-395-1450 and she wrote it down. And then I'm thinking, what? That sounds familiar, but I don't think it's my number. And I'm getting old. It's a good thing when you don't remember your own phone number. But I was giving out this number, so that's always a good thing. So if you got a question, we've got the open phone lines. I know some people, they just don't want to do anything in their garden for fall. You really do need to take those plants out that are dead and get them out on the compost pile. Oh, we do have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You're on the Garden Show. Good morning.
Hi, Jan. Is this a good time to trim my knockout roses?
I haven't done that yet, and I always do it in the fall. So, yes, it is a good time to do that.
Okay. I'm taking it from the master gardener. How far down should I go on the rose bush?
I usually go down to about 12, 15 inches, and I take off a lot every year. And every year they just kind of get out of hand, but just however much, shape them however like what you want them to look like, and that'll be fine.
Okay, thank you, Jan.
Yep, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And do we have another caller on the line? Or Good morning. You're on the Garden Show. Good. Oh. Okay. No, I can't. You're going to have to hang up and try again. I cannot hear you. Oh, she's going to try a different. Is it working? No, it is not. I'm sorry. You're going to have to hang up and try again. We can't get that. Make sure your radio's turned way down, and you're going to hang up and try again. 616-395-1450 is the number to call. Yeah, trim those knockout roses down, butterfly bushes down. Those need to get down, and we do have that caller back. Good morning. You're on the Garden Show.
Good morning, Jan. I have a question about Christmas cactuses.
Sure.
Is Brian going to be getting some this year?
Yes, we are.
You are?
Yep.
Will you be getting any yellow, do you know?
I'm assuming they're going to be in there. They usually come as a group with the different colors. So I'm assuming so, yes.
Okay, when will they be coming in?
They will be coming in, it should be the end, first part of November to mid-November, I'm thinking.
Okay. So I guess I'll just have to call Brian and find out when they come in.
Yes, it should be. We're coming. We did find a good source for them. So, hey, I was all excited. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was disappointed you didn't have them last year.
I know. They didn't want to ship them for some reason. So, hey, what can we say? But this year, yeah, they didn't seem to have any problems. So, hopefully, we'll get them in.
The first part of November.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.
I have one of our Christmas cactuses that didn't look very good from, like 2-3 years ago. And I took it home at the end of the season because nobody wanted this poor little thing. And right now, as we speak, it's probably about 3 feet wide and 2 feet high. The thing is huge. And every time I want to trim off ends, I look and there's all these buds on them. And this thing flowers 5 times a year. I've never seen a Christmas cactus quite like this thing. It is absolutely huge. So the growers of these things knew what they were doing. And even the little runt of the litter still looks wonderful. So I wasn't quite expecting it to be quite so big. And I haven't done anything to it. I've never transplanted it. I've never done anything like that. I always find transplanting Christmas cactus, you really need at least one more person with you because they're just too unwieldy to do by yourself. But yeah, they're fun things to do. We should be getting them in around the 1st of November. And they make fantastic presents. If you know someone that has a little green thumb and would like a Christmas cactus, they're fun to have. I used to have my grandmother's Christmas cactus, and it finally died on me. I think it was old age, but it's fun to hand these things down from generation to generation, or sister to sister or whatever. They're a fun plant to do, really easy to grow. Don't really take a whole lot of know-how, which is kind of the house plant I like. I spend a lot of time on my plants outside. I spend 0 time on my plants inside. All of a sudden I go, I got to water these things, or maybe I should repot everything here. It's usually all or nothing that I'm doing, but yeah, I like the ones that don't take much of the, bother at all. But my orchids are doing well, so what can I say? And, putting your fall garden to bed, make sure you take out all the plants that were there, and make sure you take out all of the, every once in a while, there's a couple of grape tomatoes that fell down, or, something, a small zucchini that's rotting over them. Take those things out because there's seeds in there that probably will germinate next year. And for some reason, nobody ever wants to just pull those things out. They're probably not going to be that much good. If they're in your garden, especially like a squash plant, it's been pollinated and probably cross-pollinated with everything else in your garden. So who knows what you'll come up with the next year, and it probably won't be edible. So it's just not worth your time. And if you do get one of those volunteer plants, just pull it out of the ground. Not worth it. Make sure everything is dug up and put where it needs to go. Don't put any diseased plants in your compost pile. It's not going to get hot enough during the winter for it to kill the fungus that caused it, like powdery mildew or blight. So keep those out of your compost pile. Just dump those, wrap them up, and dump them in the trash, because that's not going to do you any good anywhere. So, if you had a problem with something, don't think that you're going to compost it and it'll be all right in the summer, because it's not going to be. So let's not do that. Let's get the cover crops in. Rye can still go in with no problem. Oats, wheat, we have some people that are putting that in as a cover crop also, and you can do that, not a problem. But just get it in pretty soon. Although, the soil temperature is not cooling down near that quickly this fall. So you still can get some growth out of rye or oats. So you can put those in yet. You can also put in your fall bulbs. That's an important part to put in right now. Put it in now, then you don't have to worry about putting them in the snow later. I've got some in. I don't have them all in. I always have a hard time picking out what colors I want to do, and then I think I'm going to match everything. So I'm going to do like a purple year or a pink year or whatever, but get your tulip bulbs now and get them in the ground. We need to stop and take a break, but we will be back right after this.
Back to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show. Call the Master Gardener from De Bruyne Seeds in Zeeland now at 395-1450. Once again, here's Jan Meeuwsen.
Okay, I'm just taking a breather here, and my mind is just wandering. Okay. Well, if it wasn't raining out today, you'd probably see a gazillion box elder bugs out on the building here, and stink bugs and ladybugs all trying to get in. That's what they are doing right now. If you haven't done it already, make sure you go and do a perimeter walk around your house. Spray. Home Defense works really well. Go from the house out 4 feet, spray it all. Go up the foundation, like under the siding, around doors, windows, any cracks that they might get in. Get that all sprayed so they don't come in, and spend the winter inside with you. They're not going to hurt you. They don't bite. They don't eat during the winter. But I don't really care for them to every once in a while be walking across my table. So, just keep them out. Just get that insecticide around the house. You can do some inside the house too, if you want to do like under the sink or under the bottom of the cabinets. You could probably spray there also. Ants can come in that way. But yeah, let's get that all done before winter sets in. Home Defense will last 3 months, so it should last you, through the time when the bugs are trying to get inside. So that works really well. I cannot tell you how many people have come in the store and said, I've got a mouse in my house, and I've never had mice in my house before. I'm just surprised. It's just kind of funny. We have got everything at the store in the rodent cafe. We are all set for that mouse in your house. It's probably not one mouse. It's probably more than one. I hate to tell you that, but do look for signs of them. If you've got like a dog or a cat, if they're trying to get like under the refrigerator all of a sudden, or trying to get under the sink, they probably notice some sort of presence of something. So do look for it. Look for their little droppings. They pee or poop like every 6 feet when they're running along. So you should see some droppings. Remember, they like to run against the baseboard. They don't like to run in the middle of the room. So look at your baseboard and see if you've got like a discolored area, because their fur will let off that oil onto the wall. So look for that sort of thing. If you think, if you've got it, if you see them or whatever. I go for the full arsenal. I go set out traps, put bacon and chocolate down now that I find they love chocolate. Put a little bit of a Snickers bar or something on your bait. They love that stuff. Peanuts, chocolate, that they've gone into heaven. If you put a little bacon on it, they will really go for it. So put the traps down. You put them perpendicular to the wall and put them right up to the wall. So when they're running, they'll run right through them and they will get caught in them. That works well. I usually put 2 of them in a row. If the first one doesn't work, the second one will, sort of thing. So do that. You can put some bait down either in a refillable bait box or just a place pack where you just, like a thing of decon that you just put down. You can throw that in your attic or your basement. You just don't want to put it where little children are going to pick it up and play with it. That's something you don't want. And then I start spraying a rodent stopper. Spray it if I see that they've been running somewhere. I will definitely spray the rodent stopper right there. They come in my garage and they right along the one wall. So I spray the rodent stopper there, and that stops them from running right there. And then I spray where I think they're coming in, both inside and outside, with the rodent stopper. I've had great luck with that. Every once in a while, one does get through and does get in a trap, but I don't have that much problem anymore. I used to have a terrible problem, but hey, not anymore. Whatever I've done has seemed to work. But yes, if all of a sudden you are surprised by the presence of another 4-legged animal in your house that's not your dog or your cat, yes, we can help you with that and take care of it. We've got the traps that go down. They're called gotcha traps, and they kind of snap down, and you just pick up the one end and you can bring it over to the trash can, open it up, and it goes down in there. You never have to touch the mouse. So that I hate those wooden ones, old-fashioned wooden ones where you had to sit there and try to get the mouse off those things. Oh, I hate that. The gotcha traps, nice plastic traps, they work well. I've got bigger ones that I use on the chipmunks outside. They've kind of quieted down right now, thankfully. Maybe I've gotten most of them around my house. I can't believe it, but it seems like you get like a half a dozen, all of a sudden there's 2 dozen there. I don't know why, but they're another thing that just drive me up a wall. But yes, get those things trapped and out of your house and out of your garage. If you've ever had a chipmunk or a squirrel in your garage, that's horrible. They can chew, they can destroy things so quickly. So you don't want them in the house. So keep them outside. Yeah, that is the way to go. And as far as the mice go, do walk around your house too when you're doing your insecticide perimeter, and check for any areas that mice might be able to come in. I had around my dryer vent, I had just a little tiny hole, and they were coming in there. And I couldn't get any caulk around it. I just stuffed a bunch of steel wool in there. They don't like that. I wouldn't want to crawl through that either. And just really packed it with that. I haven't had any problem with them coming in there anymore. But do be, kind of keep your eye out any place that they might get in. And it doesn't have to be, like the little hole you see on the Tom and Jerry cartoons, the little half moon hole. They don't necessarily do that. So they can get through a very, very little spot. They can just their little bodies kind of just all flatten on out. So yeah, you'd be surprised how small of a hole they can get through. So really keep your eyes just peeled for that sort of thing. We might even see some mice activity outside the house in those areas also. Make sure you've got your bushes and your plants trimmed so they don't hit the house. We want to keep at least 6 inches between your plants and the house, just so that it doesn't act as a highway for them to go right in the house. It helps with insects also. So do keep that, when you're doing your house perimeter check, have your clippers right there with you and just clip off anything that might be too close to the house. If you've got branches from a tree that are kind of going right to the house, you might want to trim those back too. It's just a little highway for them to walk right over and get in your house. So we're gonna do that when we're doing our perimeter check. And it's easiest to do it now rather than when there's snow on the ground. So you might want to take a non-rainy day though to do this sort of thing and get it all set and ready to go. It doesn't take that long, I found, to spray it and to take. I walk around with. I've got my gallon of Home Defense, and then I've got my rodent stopper hanging off my belt hoop, and then I've got some clippers in my pocket, and I've got all this stuff with me, and just to make sure I've got everything checked. Just because I don't want to spend the winter inside with uninvited guests. I don't mind invited guests, but I don't want uninvited guests. So, come on over to DeBrine's, check out the Rodent Cafe. We'll help you, figure out what you need. If you're storing a boat or a car or something like that for the winter, or a trailer, you might want to come in and they're called Mouse Magic. And they look like a little sachet. And you put them like on the engine block or around the upholstery in your car so they don't come in. It smells, it's got an odor to it. It's not terribly offensive. I could probably live with it, but I guess the mice don't like it. So, if you want to store and make sure that they're not chewing on the wires in your motor or chewing on your upholstery, you might want to throw a couple of those around the trailer or around the car, boat, whatever you're storing for the winter. And you might want to even spray some rodent stopper in there just to keep them out of there. We certainly don't want them in, our cottages or whatever when we're not there, because then they have way too much fun. We don't want that. So unless you want to keep your dog or cat there all winter, it's best the Mouse Magic or one of those things will work extremely well. And as our caller said, it is time to, kind of trim down your roses and your landscape roses. I've got some too in my backyard. My goodness, I cannot believe how fast those things grow over the summer. In the fall, I go out there thinking I'm just going to have to prune them up. But my goodness, I take off huge amounts. Don't worry about it. It'll come back the next year with no problem. I usually shape it down to the size I want it to be, which it stays there nicely all winter long. And by the spring, all of a sudden, there it goes again, and it covers everything. It's so pretty, though, when it does do that. But do cut them back before winter, just a little neater. The less stuff that's out in the garden and in your landscape beds this time of year, the less spaces there are for little rodents to live. You don't need a couple of landscape roses that 24 mice can live in over the winter. If you cut them back, they won't like that quite so much. Butterfly bushes, there's really no set time to prune them. You can do them now. If you're doing everything else now, you might as well do it now. You can do it in the spring. You can do it in the middle of the summer. It really doesn't matter much at all for those guys. We need to stop and take a break on that note, and we will be back with the Garden Show right after these messages.
let's get back to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show. Call the Master Gardener from DeBrine Seeds in Zeeland now at 395-1450. Once again, here's Jan Meeuwsen.
Okay, we're back. I'm going to wake up here. We've been kind of taking naps here during the breaks. All right. Another thing this fall, everybody is buying wildflower seed. And while I don't mind selling wildflower seed, this is really not the time to frost seed anything. To frost seed means the ground is frozen and you put seed down, and then you wait until with it getting warmer, colder, the ground heaving with that gets the seeds in the ground. This is not that time. February is that time to do that. And we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. You are on the Garden Show.
Yes. I have a recipe or I guess you want to call it a recipe, for getting rid of chipmunks.
What is that?
Pardon me?
What is it?
Using a 5-gallon white bucket, clean bucket, fill it half full of water.
Okay.
Sprinkle black sunflower seeds in the water because they'll float.
Yep.
And then take about a 4-foot board, set it up against there, sprinkle some sunflower seeds on that board. They will eat their way up to the edge of the bucket, and they'll see that seed floating in the bucket, and they won't see that it's water. So they'll jump in there and they drown.
I like that idea. That's a great idea.
It's a simple way of doing it, and it's humane.
Well, yeah, so, when I catch a live mouse or whatever, I go out to the end of my dock and I throw it in the water, and it just goes swim to freedom. So yes.
Now, have you heard of this before?
I've heard. I never really listened to it, but that is a simple way to do this, isn't it?
Yes, it's very simple and it's very effective. I had one guy tell me after I told him about it, he saw me the next day, he says, "You're guilty of murder." I says, "Why?" He says, "I got 17 of them."
Holy cow.
So it is effective.
It is very effective. Well, you know what's going to be in my backyard now? It's not that.
I'll give it a try.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a try. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hey, it sounds easy enough. I can put that out in my backyard because they're eating my bird feed from under the feeder, and I'd rather the birds eat that, not those stupid chipmunks. They have caused enough problems digging around my house and in my garden that I just really don't care for them at all. Okay, so covered the chipmunks now. We've covered the wildflower patches. Please, if you want to frost seed, and I don't mind that you frost seed it, it's really something that you're going to get the space ready this fall, get all the weeds out of it, get it all cleared out. And then in February, March, you're going to put down the wildflower seeds. That's the time the ground is frozen. Right now, the ground it's warmer than the air right now, and it will start to germinate. And once it comes up above the ground, it's going to get cold and it's going to die. So I don't want you to waste your money. So if you're going to frost seed, let's frost seed when you really can frost seed. You know, it would be wonderful if it would just sit there and come up next spring, but you can't really tell the seed not to start to germinate when the soil is warm enough and we get enough moisture. So please don't do it right now. Please wait until February or March. This is the time to get the soil ready for it, though. So clear out those patches and get that ready. If you've got a wildflower patch right now, this is the time to mow it down for all those annuals to finally get down to the ground, those seed heads down to the ground. So mow it down to about 6 inches tall, or brush hog it, or do whatever you're going to do to it, and get that down. I know, I guess fire is the, every 3 years is the optimal thing, but it's probably not a good idea in a subdivision or whatever. So let's just mow it down and and make sure you don't mulch it up and take all of it away. You need to have it drop right down to the ground. So, don't mulch it there, but tidy it up for the winter a little bit right now. That is a time to do that. It is also time to make sure that you have got your amaryllis that you had out on your deck or whatever, your porch all winter or all summer. Bring it in. Don't do anything to it. Just put it in a cool, dark room for a couple till right before Christmas, around 1st of December or so. And then you bring it out of there, cut off the leaves, and start watering it again. And you should be getting some beautiful flowers again. So time to get that amaryllis bulb in the house and make sure it goes dormant. So, don't water it. Don't do anything to it. Just put it on its side, and that's it. Just completely ignore it. I love that kind of stuff for my plants. Just completely ignore it and it will be fine. The mandevillas, if you had some and you want to keep them over the winter, they can be brought inside. I would love to have a greenhouse to just put them inside where it wouldn't freeze and they'd be fine all winter. But I have to pick the ones that look the nicest and bring them inside. Now you have to when you bring them inside, make sure you're not bringing any insects along with you. So do spray it with insecticidal soap or put it in the shower and rinse it off or do something just to make sure you're not bringing in anything. What I do is I cut it back to about 10, 12 inches tall. You're going to cut off all the blossoms. I'm sorry. Hopefully you enjoyed them all summer long. But cut off all the blossoms, about 10 to 12 inches tall. Put it in a room where the temperature is going to be between 55 and 60, and indirect sunlight works best. And don't water it all the time. You don't want it to get bone dry, but you do want to water it every couple of weeks. And that's all you do. And in the spring, you can put it out again outside, or you can just trim it down and treat it like a house plant, but you do need to trim it down first. Don't bring it in and expect it to be able to handle, feeding all of the flowers and everything else it had on it. So do trim it down a little bit, get all the flowers off, bring it in the house, treat it like a house plant, water it weekly and trim it as needed. If it starts getting a little gangly, trim it down. Doesn't need to grow that much during the winter, and don't expect any blooms to appear. But in the spring, once it goes back outside in the sunshine, it will start to bloom again. So it's not that hard to overwinter a mandevilla. I put it in my basement, and I put it in a room in my basement that I really don't go in very often. And every time I'd go in there, I go, I got to water that thing. The poor thing. But it did survive the winter, even though I didn't water it very often. It did survive, and it was absolutely glorious this summer. And if you can overwinter it, if it was a nice size, at the end of the year here, it'll be huge next year. Mine was growing all around my deck railing and absolutely beautiful, the one plant that I had overwintered. So it was so much bigger than my other plants were. So I am going to try to do more of them this year. So we'll see how that works out. We'll see if we can stand to have it in the house all summer long. I don't know. Christmas cactuses, if you want your Christmas cactus to bloom at Christmas, you need to expose it to temperatures less than 59 degrees for 3 nights in a row. And then in 6 to 8 weeks, it will bloom. Mine seems to think it's always below 59 degrees. I didn't realize my living room was quite that cold, but it blooms all the time. But if you expose it 3 nights to under 59 degrees, it's usually best to take it and put it in the garage for the night, as long as you know it's not going to freeze and it doesn't go below 40, and then put it back in the house during the day and do that for 3 nights. You really need to get that done now. October 10 was the optimal day to do that. So you might be a little late, might be a New Year's Eve cactus. I don't know, but it's fun. I love to have it blooming around the holidays at least, and that's the way to do that. If you kept your poinsettia over the summer, good for you. I don't ever keep them long enough, but they need the dark night and nighttime temperatures between what does it say, 65 to 69 degrees and totally dark. No, it in a closet is best where there's no street lights, or and then daytime temperatures between 70 and 80 degrees with indirect sunlight. And you need to do that for 6 to 8 weeks. What does it say here? Yes, and daytime temperature 9 hours, nighttime 15 hours. Oh, 5 to 6 weeks. I don't ever do that. They're cheap enough. I get them new every year. We need to stop and take a break, but we will be back right after these messages.
Let's get back to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show. Call the Master Gardener from De Bruyn Seeds in Zeeland now at 395-1450. Once again, here's Jan Meeuwsen.
And we are back. We've been talking about what to do with our flowers that we're bringing in or trying to get them to bloom for Christmas. Poinsettias, it's a lot of work to get them to bloom. And if you don't have that dark area or the patience to do it every night when, the daytime 70 degrees and light, and then the nighttime, 65 degrees and total darkness. And you got to move them all the time. And if you miss a day, you got to start all over again. So I'm not home all the time, right at the right time. So but if you are, it might be a fun thing to try to do. I can think of a closet I could easily put them in if I could just be more regular with my time, but it would be fun to try. Maybe some year I will try to get my poinsettias to last. I can get them to last after Christmas. I can get them to last when I put them outside during the summer. They always seem to, be happy outside, but trying to get them to come back again, that doesn't work really well for me. This is also a great time to transplant. We still can transplant flowers. Again, the soil is warmer than the air. And if you pick a day that is not raining, it should be fine to do this sort of thing. I know if your black-eyed Susans or your hostas or whatever, they're getting kind of dead looking in the middle. That's just their way of saying, hey, I need to be dug up and divided. So just dig them up. Just take a shovel and just cut them into pieces. It's not rocket science. You just cut them up and then plant them in different spots. And in a couple of years, they'll be just as big as what they are right now. So they grow quickly. And maybe, if you got too many, you can give them away to neighbors or some friends. It's kind of fun. Don't keep them out of the ground too long. If you are, make sure you wrap the roots up and maybe in some newspaper or something. Keep them moist. If you're going to bring them over to a neighbor, that would be really nice. Pruning your hydrangeas right now. You can safely remove the spent blooms from last summer anytime. But keep in mind you can cut back down to the first healthy set of leaves, large leaves, or only cut down to the last healthy bud. When you cut down to that first set of leaves, the bud should usually be for next year will be in those. So just cut it right above that. You're going to have to look at every cut when you do that. When you're just doing a mop head type hydrangea, you're going to just cut it, give it a slight haircut. This is not a drastic, spring hairdo that you're doing here. You're just kind of cutting it back. If there are some bent and broken branches, you can cut those right back down to the ground. If it's too thick, you can definitely clear some of them out. Also, try clear the older ones out first. So it might not be quite so full of blooms the next year, but at least it will look nicer and it'll get more sunlight down in there, and there'll be a happier plant. And we always want happy plants by our house. We don't want crabby plants. So it would probably be best if you want to do that. I know it just seems like, if you got more than one of them, it seems like it's going to take you forever, but it really doesn't. Pick a nice day to be outside. The birds are singing and whatever, and it isn't raining on you. That would be a lot more fun than picking a day when it's raining. I think, and it gets too cold. We don't want it to be too cold when we're out there doing that. And, once you deadhead it, you can take some of those deadheaded plant heads and, you hang them upside down, like in the garage or in the attic or wherever, so they can dry out. That makes kind of fun dried flowers. If you ever do any dried flower things, it's kind of a fun way of keeping those throughout the winter. It's your choice. You can do that too. I have done that. It works well. I harvested all my garlic and shallots, and I could actually have enough garlic that I could try braid them. I'm not good at that, so I'm not quite up to it. I did a couple of YouTube channels trying to figure out how to braid my garlic that I had, and I don't think that's going to get done. But hey, that's life. And, if you still want to plant garlic for next year, you still have time. The soil is plenty warm. You can dig down in there and plant some garlic for next summer. You'd harvest it in the late summer if you plant it in the fall. If you plant it in the spring, you usually can get garlic that year. It's not going to be as big. My garlic heads were quite big that I harvested. I was really impressed with what I got out of the ground. So just keep that in mind. But that's one thing you can plant right now, and we still have garlic at DeBrine's. It's been one of those years where we've gotten garlic in and people have bought it all and sold out, and then we got more in and sold out and more in. But the bottom word is we do still have some in right now. So you can still come in and grab some garlic at DeBrine's if you want to try it. It's a fun thing to do. It's an easy thing to grow. It doesn't take any rocket science at all. Just plant it away from delicate things like peas or whatever, because those can take up that garlic taste. And, some people like that, but sometimes you don't want garlic in your food. Okay, she's telling me I've only got a minute left, so I have to do this quick. I will be here Tuesday morning at 8:35 with Dan for the garden party, and then I will be on Tuesday morning from 10 until 11 with Gary on Talk of the Town. But the most important thing is I will be back here next Saturday morning at 11:05 to be here with you for the garden show. And I've got all the names correct. I'm very proud of myself. I don't always do it like that, but I've got it done. I will be back here next Saturday morning. God willing, I will be here, maybe with a few less chipmunks in my backyard. I'll be very, very happy. Her was telling me that, yes, her grandpa uses that method too, and it works well for him. So I will try it too. Okay, well, until next week, all I can say is go green.
You've been listening to the Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com. If you wish to hear this or other programs hosted by the Master Gardener from DeBrine Seeds in Zeeland, check out the podcast section of our website, WHTC.com, and listen or download for free. The Jan Meeuwsen Garden Show is a presentation of 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.